I sought the Lord, and He answered me and delivered me from every fear. Those who look on Him are radiant, they'll never be ashamed, they'll never be ashamed. This poor man cried, and the Lord heard me and saved me from my enemies. The Son of God surrounds His saints. He will deliver them. He will deliver them. Magnify the Lord with me. Come exalt His name together. Glorify the Lord with me. Come exalt His name forever. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Oh, blessed is He who hides in Him. Oh, fear the Lord. Oh, all you saints, He give you everything. He give you everything. Magnify the Lord with me. Come exalt His name together. Glorify the Lord with me. Come exalt His name forever. Sing magnify. Magnify the Lord with me. Come exalt His name together. Glorify the Lord with me. Come exalt His name forever. Let us bless. Let us bless the Lord every day and night. Never-ending praise, may our incense rise. Let us bless the Lord every day and night. Never-ending praise, may our incense rise. Magnify the Lord with me. Come exalt His name together. Glorify the Lord with me. Come exalt His name forever. Thinking while we were singing that, it would feel weird to enforce to be out on a lake fishing and start springing into singing that song. Thanks, John. I have a little quick drop pocket here too. But man, we were out fishing yesterday, and it just felt like you could sing that song. Like when we were looking at the eagles in the tree, you didn't see the eagles, but we saw the eagles. And Ruby was getting pictures of these eagles up in the trees, and just the islands and the mist, and yeah, like I don't know what the appropriate expression is there, but it's just awe, right? I mean, there's so many people here I know who are nodding their heads because some of you paint that, some of you write songs about it, some of you, maybe crochet landscapes, I don't know. but we just have this way about us. We can't resist that kind of like the goosebump moment, right? And I'm just so thankful for that. And I wonder if we would have felt that same way, that kind of goosebumpiness when we if we heard Jesus speak and thought, this is God speaking, and like all these things are falling away of like what I thought it was, like the ugliness and everything that we've kind of has latched onto us, this incorrect story, and then Jesus is right there in front of us. Anyways, yesterday was beautiful, and I hope you had a beautiful day too, and I hope you have one today too. In the darkness we were waiting, without hope and without light, till from heaven you came running. There was mercy in your eyes, to fulfill the law and prophets. To a virgin came your word, from a throne of endless glory to a cradle in the dirt. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of Kings. To reveal the kingdom come, and to reconcile the lost, to redeem the whole creation. You did not despise the cross, for even in your suffering you saw to the other side. Knowing this was our salvation, Jesus for us came to die. In the morning that you rose, all of heaven held its breath, to the stone for good, for the Lamb had conquered death. And the dead rose from their tombs, and the angels stood in awe. Oh, the souls of all who come to the Father are restored. Sing praise. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of We're going to sing one more song before we get to a powerful and just wonderful message after this. Okay. But also I had an idea for a renovation of the church as we were singing that last song, the new church. I thought, is there a way that we could have it so that Scott Baker has to sit next to us when we're singing at the front so we can hear him singing? It just helps us. Yeah, we talk about that? All right. Because it's majestic. Thanks, Scott. That wasn't me singing. That wasn't me. Yeah, it's great, Scott. I'm not picking on you. It's really nice. We're going to sing Awake My Soul. Be gracious to me, oh God. Now you're self-conscious. Hide me in the shadow of your wings till destruction of the enemy goes by. Be gracious to me. This is going to be a short song. You got that in your head, everyone? Yeah. You're on a D for that part. And then, yeah, the little clips. Steve said we're saving money on clips, so we got the small ones. I'll put this here, and then we'll put the clip on the 2. And then, no, John, you were doing great. You got it. No, it's all good. I was just, yeah, it's all good. Thanks. Be merciful to me, my King. There's darkness in the cave surrounding me. When the swords are drawn and spears and arrows fly. Be merciful to me, my King. You are exalted, oh God above heavens. Come, let your glory cover the earth. You have saved me from the roaring lions. Awake my soul to love you. Awake my soul to sing. Be faithful to me, my Lord. Protect me when the enemy's drawn in. Though they set their nets before me in the night. Be faithful to me, my Lord. You are exalted, oh God above heavens. Come, let your glory cover the earth. You have saved me from the roaring lions. Awake my soul to love you. Awake my soul to sing. You are exalted, oh God above the heavens. Come, let your glory cover the earth. You have saved me from the roaring lions. Awake my soul to love you. Awake my soul to sing. Sing for all you've done. I will sing for all you've done. You have changed my life. Rescued me from the grave. Kept me safe through the night. I will sing for all you've done. You have changed my life. Rescued me from the grave. You have saved me from the roaring lions. Awake my soul to love you. Awake my soul to sing. You are exalted, God above the heavens. Come let your glory cover the earth. You have saved me from the roaring lions. Awake my soul to love you. Awake my soul to sing. Awake my soul to love you. Awake my soul to sing. Awake my soul to love you. Awake my soul to sing. You may be seated.
That a little bit, but actually that works.
That sounds great.
Okay.
Do you want me to turn it down a bit?
Maybe. Is that really loud, everyone? It is really loud? Too loud? Or it's good? Oh, Bill says it's good. All right. Good morning, Grassroots. What a good worship time with Matt this morning. Thank you. If you are, I think everyone's already left, but if you are young and would like to go to Sunday school this morning, Roots and Shoots is happening over there. You can go and hang out with Ange. How is that? If you're cold, the best idea is just to gather around closer into the middle where more body heat is, and we will go and you'll be nice and warm. So this morning we're going to stray a little bit from the approach that we've been using this summer for our teaching, which has been mostly speaking with members of our community, getting to know them, and learning about sort of their faith journeys and different things that they're passionate about. We are going to continue that next week, and I'm very excited. She has agreed to do this. I am going to speak with Karen next Sunday, and we're going to hear about Karen's story. Yay! So I hope you come out for that. It'll be good. Karen is a lovely soul, as many of you know, and we will learn about Karen. So that's good. But today, and last week we heard from Samuel, who shared about reconciliation. We actually recorded that podcast. So if you missed it and you want to hear about that, you can find that wherever you podcast. I also want to mention, before I get going, I printed these business cards for myself, but for you as well, to I don't know, if you're like around town and you're like telling people about the church you go to and stuff, you can be like, oh, actually I have some business cards or these little pamphlets, you could say. And they just kind of mention our church community and how to get in touch with the pastor. So I have lots. I already gave a few to Bill, and they're not to promote me at all. They're just to promote our church community, to let people know where we are, who we are, and they can visit our website and things like that. So these are available if you would like to do that. Also, raise your hand. I have not talked to anyone on leadership about this, but I have been thinking about this. We have our new logo. We have our new branding kind of thing developed. Raise your hand if you would be interested in apparel that is like grassroots themed. Or, okay, one person? Yeah. Two people? Few? Sherry? Okay. Yeah, so if I ordered, Karen would, I know that. If I ordered and looked into, I don't know, like 25 t-shirts. Hoodies? Oh wow. Hoodies. Okay, well, hoodies is the request. Okay. All right, well, I'll look into this. And we will see if we can find some hoodies that look really good. I think there's some birds up there that are singing. And they're chirping me. Boy, Kristen, I really missed you. Okay, well, anyway, so I will look into that and we'll see how that goes. But I think it'd be kind of fun to have grassroots stuff. We used to back in the day, years ago, right? And so maybe we can provide that. Okay, so I thought this morning I would share about something that I've been kind of contemplating off and on this summer as I've been reading through the Psalms in particular. And so I want to talk a little bit about this, but as we go through this, because our vibe this summer is super informal and kind of conversation-y, if you have a question or if you have a comment or if you want to add something, I want you to feel free to just raise your hand and we can do that. This is not like lecture, sermon, I mean, it kind of is, but feel free to like just intercept and just say, hey, what about this? Or I don't know if I agree with that. That's okay. We don't all have to agree with everything. So let that sort of like set the tone for where we're going this morning. Now, question 1, how many Psalms are there? 150, correct. Good, you guys know your Bible. Of the 150 Psalms, there are 10-ish that are considered imprecatory Psalms. This is a big question. What are imprecatory Psalms? Does anyone know?
What does imprecatory mean?
Yeah, that's the question. What does imprecatory mean? Anyone?
Calling down judgment on his enemies.
When David is calling down judgment on his enemies, that's as good as a definition as I can get. That's right. These are psalms that call on God, the psalmist, usually David, though some of them were not 100% sure. Usually it's David, and he's calling God to bring judgment and calamity and destruction and curses down upon the people who he deems to be his enemy. In fact, we just sung a song, I asked Matt to do this, with an imprecatory verse. The song was Awake My Soul. And I'm not going to recite the whole song, but part of the lyrics, here we go. Oh. Okay, you can go to the first lyric, I think. Or no, what are imprecatory songs? You can go to it. Sorry, Scott was keeping it blank until I had an actual slide. I did? Oh, I came up with it. Okay, so what are imprecatory psalms? Here's the lyric. Be gracious to me, O God. Hide me in the shadow of your wings. Till destruction of the enemy goes by, be gracious to me, O God. And this is basically verbatim from Psalm 57. David is calling upon the destruction of his enemies. And we sing that on Sunday mornings. There's another song, I don't have the lyrics here. It's called Destruction. Destroyer. And we don't sing it, but it's by Bethel Music, and it's a very popular worship song that many churches sing. Maybe one day we will. But the lyric is, bring me the head of my enemy. That is we should really reflect on the words we write in our worship music. But anyway, so there are these songs that we actually integrate from the Psalms into our worship today. And let me read a few other Psalms that kind of get at this cursing and bringing down wrath on our enemies. Psalm 3:7. I can't see this, so I'm hoping that is there. Psalm 3:7 says, Arise, Lord, deliver me, my God. Strike all my enemies on the jaw. Break the teeth of the wicked. Psalm 10:15 says, Break the arm of the wicked man. Call the evildoer to account for his wickedness. That would not otherwise be found out. Psalm 141, Keep me safe from the traps set by evildoers, from the snares they have laid for me. Let the wicked fall into their own nets while I pass by in safety. One more. Psalm 143. In your unfailing love, silence my enemies, destroy all my foes. And like I said, there are many more. And so lately I have been reading the Psalms in the morning and coming across these passages where David is essentially asking God to destroy his enemies. And this has caused me to stop and to consider and to ask some tough questions, which have led to sort of this morning. And I'd like to share some of the things that I've been reflecting on. And again, you can push back and say, like, that doesn't seem right, or maybe you got to think about it this way as well. I definitely don't have the corner on everything, as you well know. So your feedback is appreciated. But I think there's something of value here that we can, as Jesus-centered followers, glean. And So to begin, like, there are a lot of passages in the Old Testament outside of the Psalms that also speak of God destroying his enemies. Some are in poetry. There's a song in Exodus, the Song of Moses it's called, Exodus 15, and it declares that God's right hand shatters the enemy and his wrath consumes them like stubble. Others are just statements that kind of matter-of-factly speak about God's nature, that he just does this. Deuteronomy 32 says, God will take vengeance on his adversaries, and he will repay those who hate him. And then the imagery here gets extremely bloody. God's arrows become drunk with blood, and his sword devours flesh. Jeremiah 18. Jeremiah asks God not to forgive his enemies, and to let his enemies' children suffer famine, and to hand them over to the sword. And then again, Jeremiah in Lamentations chapter 3, he says, he prays to God, and his prayer is to pay them back. These are his enemies. Pay them back what they deserve, O Lord. Pursue them in your anger and destroy them from under the heavens. So the Old Testament is replete with these passages about enemies and expecting God, or asking God, or pleading for God to destroy them. It's not hard to find this. You can flip through any of the Old Testament pretty quickly. You can discover something like this. Now, as many of you know, hopefully all of us know by now, that Grassroots Church considers itself a Jesus-centered church. Amen? Amen. And so this means practically that we seek to see Jesus, understand Jesus at the center of every aspect of our lives. From our practices, how we live day to day, from our traditions and rituals, and into our belief and our theology, all of it centers on Jesus first and foremost. He is the lens. He informs how we understand all of it. And that includes how we read Scripture as well. And we talked a little bit about this in our series on how to read the Bible last year. But one of the tensions that Jesus-centered Christians have to live with when it comes to the Bible is, how do we reconcile the God of the Old Testament that we just read about with the God of the New Testament, where Hebrews 1 describes Jesus as the radiance of God's glory and the exact representation of his being, right? How do we hold those two? And there are all sorts of ways that folks have tried to do this. But when we read all this stuff about God smiting his enemies and people like David calling down, the wrath of God onto his enemies, we then come to Jesus in the New Testament, and this is the kind of nonsense he says. He says, you have heard in Matthew 5 that it was said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemy and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be like your Father in heaven. Again, like your Father in heaven, but we just looked at what our Father in heaven is like, and he is destroying all of our enemies when we ask him to. And it says, since he causes the sun to rise on the evil and the good, and he sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. And then we see Jesus on the cross. And, if you're at my father-in-law's memorial service a couple days ago, or a couple weeks ago now, we spoke about this. What is the character of God like? And this reveals the character of God. On the cross, we see in his suffering, in this torturous agony that Jesus endures, while on the cross, he calls God down to smite his enemies. No. He says, Father, forgive them, they know not what they're doing. The winds are picking up. Someone doesn't like the word of the Lord being proclaimed. Just kidding. Let's not. So, rather than this whole business of destroy my enemies that we see again and again in the Imprecatory Psalms and throughout the Old Testament, with Jesus we see a posture of the exact opposite. Forgive my enemies. Pray for those who hurt you. Right? And so if we want to take the Bible seriously, which we do, And if we're also convinced that God looks like Jesus and has always looked like Jesus, which we are, then that puts us in a bit of a tough spot, and it forces us to grapple with this tension. And I think, frankly, that this is one of the hardest tensions that Christians have to deal with. And like I said, many efforts have been made, and there are all sorts of ways to kind of try to make sense of this tension. And I am not going to resolve that tension in its entirety today. That's not my goal. We can't do that in a 15, 20-minute sermon. But we can at least kind of begin to pick away at this. And so the first thing to establish here is that...
So our recording got cut off, so I'm going to be doing it again from the point of cut off, just so we can finish the sermon. Anyway, so the first thing to establish here is that Jesus trumps David. In fact, Jesus trumps everything. That means when it comes to our enemies, that if there is ever a question, should I pray that God would destroy my enemies or pray that God would forgive my enemies? I can tell you it will always 100% of the time be the latter, because the way of Jesus is the way of enemy love. Not enemy killing or enemy smiting or enemy destruction, but enemy forgiving, enemy embracing, enemy turning enemy into friendship, right? That's the way of Jesus, which then leads us to ask this question: did David believe that God would smite his enemies when he prayed for this? And the answer is yes. I think so anyway. Why? Because David did not fully understand who God the Father was. He did not have the advantage that you and I have of Jesus that gives us the complete revelation of the Father. You and I have the advantage of knowing the God of Israel revealed in the person of Jesus. And because of this revelation, instead of following David and others into praying for our enemies to suffer and to die and to, experience the wrath of God and be wiped off the earth, as we see in the Psalms, we can choose to pray or to read these imprecatory Psalms through the same Jesus lens. And a Jesus lens understands that the person who has made themselves your enemy is still your neighbor. The person who has made yourself your enemy, who is considered your enemy, is still created in the image of God. They are still someone we are called to love. And that's where things kind of get difficult. The other day I was driving Graham, our son, home from work. He works at the complex. We were driving up Beverly Street, and two people jaywalked right in front of me without looking left or right, not even concerned at all about oncoming traffic. They were just kind of stumbling along, completely oblivious to my vehicle. And so, of course, I slammed on the brakes and my tires squealed and I just missed them. They didn't even flinch. They just kind of kept walking. And as they walked past my car, they turned back, and one of the male gives me the finger, as though this was somehow my finger. And full confession here, I gave the finger right back because I was pretty upset. And I know that's not very pastoral, but it's honest. And Graham can attest that I spent the rest of the drive home kind of low-key raging about these people. In my mind, they very quickly stopped being two image-bearing humans whose names and stories I knew nothing about, and they quickly became these idiots who walked in front of my car and almost, and this is quite literal, they would have changed the course of my life forever. And so I went home and I complained to my wife, and I complained to everyone who had heard me, and I was just angry about it all. And so the next morning, the adrenaline had kind of worn off, and I started thinking a little bit more clearly, a little bit more rationally, and thinking about the context of this message as well, the contents of what does it look like to love your enemy. And I realized that the enemy in that whole encounter were not the two people who stepped in front of the car. It wasn't this flesh and blood humanity that was there. No, there was all these things that were going on, right? Factors, issues, concerns that led to this sort of moment of obliviousness that played out before me. Was there substance use at play? And again, I don't want to assume, but I'm also not naive. I think perhaps that was the case. Were there mental health concerns at play here? Were there systems of inequality and injustice? Were there socioeconomic differences that were playing into this? There are so many systemic issues. There are so many of their own personal issues, potentially. Who knows what the actual source of it all was? But the point is, my anger started redirecting from these people to these factors or these variables that in some way inevitably contributed to this scene culminating with, the mutual one finger salute being given to each other. And the other flip side of this is that the enemy here wasn't just relegated to whatever was going on with those two people. It also became abundantly clear that I had issues too, that was it my own sense of privilege and entitlement that kind of came into play? Like, how dare they? Do they not know who I am, that they would just walk on by without a cause? Like, that anger that ensued was deeper than I even anticipated. I did not expect that. It's like, what's going on there within me? And so there were a whole lot of, you could call them quote unquote enemies that were at play here. And the point is in this story is that Jesus shows us that the enemy is not actually the person. It's not Saul, right, who's chasing after David. That's the enemy. It's not his son Absalom. Instead, the enemy is whatever those forces are that keep people apart, that rob us of the shalom, the holistic, or the whole being together that we are created to be. And so whether it's power or addiction or shame or fear or abuse or whatever, the list of enemies is endless. And so if we read backwards into the Psalms, we can see that Saul himself was never the enemy. Rather, it was fear, right? It was jealousy of David. It was this desire to maintain control of his throne. All sorts of factors came into play, and that caused Saul to respond the way he did to David and to pursue his life. And so David, in the worldview of his day, who is informed by the culture around him and his understanding of God's nature, he prays that God would destroy Saul, destroy his enemy. When really, if he understood that it was this jealousy and he prayed for Saul's jealousy to be slayed, or if he prayed for Saul's fears to be crushed, and then David and Saul could be reconciled. And as you know, we teach this often here at Grassroots, reconciliation is always the goal with the God revealed in Jesus, always. And I feel like this is what our approach needs to be when we read the Old Testament, and specifically as we encounter these challenging Psalms. If we were to take a lesson from how we are to approach our enemies, it is not to deny that our enemies exist. Of course they exist. We can't just pretend that everything's fine. No. But instead, we redefine, recalculate where we point that enemy disdain, right? It is never to be pointed at the person. And we never pray for the destruction of the person. We pray for the destruction of the forces, the things that cause that person to act and respond the way they do to us. And Paul uses very helpful language in this sense in the New Testament. He's writing to the church of Ephesus. In chapter 6, verse 12, he writes, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." In other words, he's saying the same thing. Don't get mistaken into thinking that the enemy is the flesh and blood person standing in front of you who is causing you to be so upset. It's not the couple jaywalking. It's not the family member who wounds you every time you see each other. It's not that petty manager at work who's constantly breathing down your neck who is the enemy. And it's not the politician whose face you see on the evening news or on social media, and every time you see it, it causes your blood pressure to rise. Those people are not the enemy. And so as hard as it is for Jesus followers, the enemy, it will never be the individual or the person or the human who is made in God's image that is to receive our prayers of vengeance and wrath from God. No, it's the forces, the principalities and powers of this dark world that need to be taken care of. And so when the psalmist writes, "Break the teeth of my enemies," as he does in Psalm 3, maybe we can pray, "God, break the teeth of hatred that I see in others, that I see in myself. Break the teeth of racism, of bitterness, of addiction, of substance abuse, of greed, of lust, of violence, of exploitation, of injustice, whatever they are. Break the teeth of those powers and principalities, those vices, whatever strongholds are causing division and separation, and destroying the shalom that we were created to live in. Or when the psalmist writes, destroy all my foes, as David does in Psalm 143, we can pray, God, destroy everything that destroys us. Destroy the fear that turns our neighbors into threats, or destroy the resentment that builds in us so much that we can't even speak to one another, right? Destroy the lust for power and recognition and fame, or whatever you want to call it, that turns people into objects, that puts myself and my success first and foremost over everyone else. Destroy that need for me. Destroy the systems that grind vulnerable people down. And if I'm honest, that I'm even complicit in, right? In order to get ahead, to be comfortable, to be secure, to have more stuff, whatever it is. And so do you see how we can read these Psalms in a different light and remain Jesus-centered? How we can take the text of the Old Testament, as troubling and as difficult as it is, and we can repurpose it, re-understand it in light of Jesus. So I'm going to end it there for our service. Now, during our time together, we did a Q&A, but that's a little bit harder to do when I'm recording this in out here in nature here. So let's end there, and I just want to pray together for us, for you as you're listening to this. Father, thank you for your word. Help us to meditate on these thoughts more as the next days and weeks come. Help us to consider that our enemy is not the person, the individual, the image-bearing creation, but the forces and the circumstances and the proclivities. In fact, we might call it the sin that so easily entangles and causes all of us to do such stupid stuff that we inadvertently turn into enemies for those around us and who do the same toward us. Father, by your Spirit, would you help us to find our way back to those people in our lives, especially, and to see them as image-bearing creatures in need of redemption, just like we ourselves are to those around us. And I pray, God, that you would grant us grace in your name. Amen.